Some of us can end up in repeated cycles of unhealthy relationships, toxic patterns that happen again and again. No matter how much we think that we have finally managed to break out of this cycle, we can ask ourselves, am I the problem? Am I the person that is causing all of this toxicity in the relationship? And no matter what you do, real happiness is always just out of reach. In this video, I'm going to help you break down exactly why you keep ending up here. I'm going to talk about the hidden dynamics that pull you into shitty relationships. And I'm going to give you the tools to create a truly balanced, fulfilling relationship that you deserve. A lot of people believe that healthy relationships involve doing everything for the other person, being around them 24/7. There's another camp of people that believe that a healthy relationship is being strong and independent and not caring. And there's a lot of people that can ping pong back and forth between these two extremes. In fact, these are two of the most polarizing views, and both of them are completely incorrect. Neither of these is enough to make a relationship work. And you might know this yourself. So many problems are caused by falling into these two extremes and actually create more toxicity and worse relationships. And by falling to one side or the other, you end up missing out on a true connection. So without addressing this, you can end up staying locked in a loop of dysfunctional relationships that hinder your own growth, your self-worth, and the chance for a truly fulfilling partnership with someone. And unless you fix it, this cycle will continue over and over again. The reason why this is happening is because there are three different types of relationships. There's codependent, there's independent, and then there's interdependent. So codependency is where both people rely on each other for emotional support. These relationships are where voids are being filled in each other's lives. Then there's independence. This is two people who are completely self-sufficient and they come together, but they don't create a synergy between them. They remain mostly separate in their needs. And then there's interdependent. And this is the ideal level of relationships. This is where both people are independent, but they create a synergy between themselves. And this enhances each other's lives in harmony. The problem is that a lot of people mistakenly believe that they are in an interdependent relationship. They look at this and they think to themselves, and maybe even you thought this just now, you looked at it and thought, yeah, that's exactly me. But a lot of what we've learned about love and relationships are inherited from Hollywood movies, from our own gut feelings, and from what we feel is right. And usually this is actually a codependent relationship. So a lot of people fall into codependency without even realizing it. And this leads to a cycle of repeated relationship issues and toxicity. So what is codependency and how does it manifest? Just before I move forward, if you do want more videos like this on repairing, building, and growing healthy relationships, then feel free to subscribe to my channel for new videos every single week. Well, codependency has a very deceptive stability. Codependent relationships feel stable, but they mask a much deeper instability underneath. It's quite insidious in that way. So these relationships often lead to a lot of verbal abuse, arguments, and neediness. Codependency ultimately hinders personal growth and our own self-actualization. And it's important to recognize your own role in maintaining a bad relationship. The only thing that can break a codependent cycle is developing self-awareness and responsibility. These are the two key factors to break a codependent cycle. People who fall into codependent relationships are often desperate to fill a void. So it's important to start looking to recognize if you are seeking an external fix for an internal issue. Because relationships that are used to fill these internal voids can make you more dependent. So where do these codependency voids come from? Well, firstly, they come from past experiences. Oftentimes, early experiences or traumas create emotional gaps within ourselves. And from that, this can develop into self-esteem issues, feelings of inadequacy. Usually, these feelings of inadequacy fuel dependency in relationships because you start to become dependent on somebody else for your validation, for your self-esteem. Essentially, what happens is you try to resolve your internal issues through somebody else. You try to get somebody else to fill your void rather than learning how to fill it yourself. And this creates a cycle of need because you're always constantly looking for external validation, external fixing, then you're never going to develop the tools in order to do it yourself. Compare this, though, to when you've healed your past traumas and you have processed your emotions regarding them and you don't have an emotional void. What happens is that you are able to look for your own internal validation during tough times and be able to self-validate. That means that whether you receive external validation or you don't receive external validation, it doesn't really matter because you're able to generate your own validation. So building up this awareness and recognizing these roots will help you to break the cycle of codependency. So by identifying and healing your past wounds, you can foster a lot more independence for yourself, which can then lead to interdependence within a relationship. So how do you move from codependency to become independent in order to develop an interdependent relationship? Well, step one is to recognize it. Like we said, the first step is to build that self-awareness. Like I mentioned at the start of this video, there's a lot of people that think that they're in an interdependent relationship. They get used to this idea of toxicity in a relationship and they simply let it slide. They simply think to themselves, I'm independent, my partner's independent. These are just normal things that happen. A lot of people mistakenly think love is a lot of the toxic things that happen with codependency. Always needing to be around their partner, always needing external validation, not being able to handle when their partner is out, being extremely jealous, having low self-esteem. All of these traits, all of these behaviors come from developing codependency. So it's important to recognize it and to start building that self-awareness around yourself. The next step is to start digging deeper into the times that you've grown these emotional gaps, these voids that need filling, that you're looking to be filled by somebody else. This is a perfect time to reflect on past relationships and these needs from a partner that you've developed rather than once. It's important to be honest with yourself about this and look objectively into times that you've developed these insecurities, these low self-esteem issues. And if you're unsure, then ask people around you, ask people who know you to see if they can find your blind spots. Ask them honestly, do you feel like I have codependent habits? This is crucial to start building your self-awareness and being objective about looking at yourself rather than not facing up to these tough truths. The next step is to start to recognize when you fall into these mindsets now. When you start to have these same behaviors, these needy behaviors, needing to get validation, being unable to self-validate, start to recognize these mindsets, these actions, these thoughts as they come about. Because thoughts lead to feelings, leads to actions. So recognizing these thoughts is crucial in order to stop the behaviors. And step 4 is to start to grow your relationship skills now. A lot of our insecurities in relationships come from negative experiences in relationships. We can develop these codependent behaviors from previous trauma within relationships. The more that we learn these bad habits, the worse our relationships get and the less confident we become within relationships. But developing the confidence within a relationship is developing the tools and relationship skills to practice so you can start building the evidence that you can function in a relationship, that you are able to break out of these patterns. Whether you are just starting a relationship, in the middle of a relationship, or on the tail end of a relationship, learning these relationship skills now, independent of your relationship status, will build your confidence and self-esteem within relationships. It will help you to break out of this codependent cycle and start to build healthy relationships, which in part will also inspire your partner to start breaking out of that cycle as well. If you're in a codependent relationship and your partner is as well, it's important that you take the lead in order to start breaking these cycles to bring the relationship into a much healthier state. And this is possible. I've seen this happen many, many times. In learning these relationship skills, you're doing that to set yourself up for a stronger interdependent relationship in the future. And just before I move on to the next step, if you want to dig deeper into relationships, understanding the fundamentals of repairing, building, and growing healthy relationships, then join me on my free relationship bootcamp, where you'll learn the same steps and tools that all of my members use to build themselves a thriving, healthy relationship from the ground up. Just click on the link in the description to grab your spot. And step 5 is to grow these relationship skills to a high level. The more that you grow these skills and start using them, the more you will grow that self-esteem and realize that you do have value outside of the relationship. This independence becomes the foundation of a relationship. It will either start to turn your current relationship around, or it will give you the foundation to build on for future relationships. And it stops you from falling into the cycle of thinking that you will only survive with this one person. And step 6 is to foster this healthy independence from your partner. Focusing on yourself while also being supportive of your partner is really, really crucial. But if you are in a codependent relationship, it's really important to understand that as you start to break out of this cycle, things can get worse before they get better. So I've actually done a deeper dive video on this before. This is called expectancy bias. But understanding that expectancy bias will happen. What happens is that as you start to grow, as you start to build your own independence, if you're in a codependent relationship, your partner may start to push against this. They may start to reject it or resist it. And this is expectancy bias. This is your partner expecting this codependence to continue. And it can cause a cognitive dissonance within the brain. But this is completely natural. This is something that everyone will go through. But it's important to understand how to navigate it within your partner in order to keep fostering that healthy relationship. So I'm going to leave you with a deeper dive video on expectancy bias, and I will see you over there.